Lane phase. The first 10 minutes of every Deadlock game is a fierce 2v2 battle with you and your lane mate against an opposing duo. It's a fantastic microcosm that focuses on micro skill. These are things like positioning, hero kit knowledge, and hero matchup knowledge. Lose a tower, a misstep. Lose 2, a serious blunder. Lose all 3, and well, it's time to deadlock in. So, with the goal of keeping you and your lane mate's tower the last one standing, let's do a deep dive into things like pressure, troops, and how to win that lane phase. Lane pressure, the core mechanic of Deadlock. Before we can jump into the laning rules, we first must understand this fundamental principle. Lane pressure is the act of pushing creeps up the lane. Having your creeps past the midpoint of the map is positive lane pressure, and the opposite applies when the enemy creeps are encroaching on your side of the map, causing negative lane pressure. Pressure does a lot, and primarily dictates where and how fights happen. Pushing your lane forces the opposing enemy team to quote-unquote play under tower. This is a more defensive position and allows for things like confirming creeps and trading damage in a slightly easier way. Playing under tower isn't terrible. You've got cover, side rooms, alleys, and it's usually easier to confirm souls, staying at least even in the soul economy. However, it's reactive. It means you're playing on the opposing team's tempo. Whoever owns pressure owns the lane. If you can keep positive pressure in the lane, this clears up and frees you up to focus on other things like buffs, sinner sacrifices, and boxes. Pressure is the core mechanic, and Deadlock is usually won by the team who can best handle this pressure. Troopers, also called minions or creeps, are the unsung hero of Deadlock. These candle-topped golems aren't just random cannon fodder, they are the soul economy of Deadlock. So, here are some basics about the troopers. They spawn every 30 seconds, 25 seconds in the late game, and comprise of 4 troopers. 2 ranged troopers, 1 melee trooper, and 1 healbot trooper or flag trooper. They ride the zip lines into lane much like our heroes and can even be shot off early if timed well. Each of the troopers has a distinct style. Ranged troopers preferring to take a distanced approach. Melee troopers have more health and can only swing with their little bat. And finally, our flag troopers heal both our heroes and the allied troopers. They keep the wave pushed and continually try and add that pressure even in your absence. Killing a trooper at range causes an orb to spawn. This divides up the total soul value between the initial trooper kill and the confirmed soul after they die. In order to get 100% of the souls within the trooper without worrying about that trooper orb, you can simply melee the trooper. This denies the enemy a chance to even deny and try and get that soul value. Some final little notes for the trooper: they start with 0% spirit resist, however scale to 20% at 25 minutes and 70% at 30 minutes in the game. As well, in enemy base, troopers gain a 25% resistance to damage. Troopers dictate lane flow, soul economy, and are the greatest indicator for the current battle state of the map. Mastering them and understanding them is mastering lane and the macro game. With all of that upfront extra detailed knowledge out of the way, we can finally get into our 6 core fundamental principles. Number 1, stick next to healbot. If no one else got me, at the very least I know healbot do. They are your sustained anchor, especially in lane. When they drop off of the line, you're guaranteed at least 1 heal, and if you're able to keep them alive for any amount of time within that lane, you can even get 2, 3, or God forbid 4 heals off, resulting in nearly 200 HP regained. Is one of the best sustain options in lane and even outpaces items like extra regen or heal right. Your healbot trooper is the lifeline of your lane. Rule number 2, shoot the creeps. Although not the flashiest thing to do in lane, they are why you're there. Lane phase is not just that 2v2 brawl, but is in fact you trying to win your tower cap before the enemy does yours. So, in order to facilitate this, we need to push our way forward, and the easiest way to do this is of course clearing the enemy wave. This forces them to go on the back foot and then deal with your creep wave on top of the damage that you are now outputting to them. Creeps are your ticket to that tower damage that you so desperately need to get out of lane. Ignore them and it's a serious miscalculation. Rule number 3, avoid trooper damage. Although it might seem obvious, this is another important factor that falls by the wayside in the midst of the chaotic laning stage. Taking fights out in front of your own trooper line means you're not only getting hit by the enemy heroes, but by those troopers as well. And although these individual trooper ticks aren't serious damage, in the midst of battle can result in a lot of extra damage that could have been negated. This links back with our other point of clearing those troopers as fast as possible, ensuring that when you do push that wave, now the enemy team is the one falling for the trooper damage. Rule number 4 is to play cover. Deadlock is not a point-and-click adventure much like our modern FPS shooters, CS2, Valorant, yada yada. So, health is a major resource and needs to be guarded as best as possible. In order to facilitate this, we need to play around cover. Deadlock's time to kill is quite large, so a death is usually the result of an out-of-position player, and less so who saw who first. So rather than taking fights in wide open space and just trading damage out, play behind cover and use that in-game lean like Valve hoped you would. Rule number 5, utilize high ground. Along the same vein of our cover rule, high ground is another fantastic mechanic that you can use to get ahead in lane. Elevation is vision and implied pressure, the latter of which does a lot more than you might think. Implied pressure is the concept that the enemy knows where you are, however knows that it's at a more advantageous position that they are currently at. This forces two things: either the player must play more defensively in order to evade your covering fire, or the player must force you out of that position, taking a disadvantageous fight. If you followed all the rules up until this point, you and your lane mate should have a higher total health pool than they do. So the fight that they use to try and kick you out of high ground should result in an even if not worse trade for them. In the end, it results with you still at a higher HP pool and reset to neutral at the very least. And high ground isn't just a bridge in the middle. These can be things like the side columns in blue lane, or even the right or left sides in the right or left lane. These are fantastic positions to take and allow you a lot more poke damage than you might initially get just playing that medium ground. Finally, our last rule, rule number 6, play the Veil. Although not for every character, especially those with a longer range disposition, the Veil is another form of implied pressure. It's a fog of war that necessitates that the opposing team at the very least know that you're there, however don't know exactly where. This implied pressure once again forces either them to play more defensively or force you out of that position, yet again taking the more disadvantageous fight. When you play the Veil, enemies don't know if you're going for a soul confirm, flanking, or just doing some poke damage. All of these possibilities are again that implied pressure that forces them in a more back-footed position. This split focus is also an upper hand and allows your lane mate to get probably more extra poke damage than they would have had both of y'all just been standing out in the open. The fact that the opposing team must also focus on you in Veil, not understanding where you are, takes their attention away from your lane mate, freeing them up to do, again, other things like confirm souls or get that poke damage. So those are our 6 rules. However, every lane is slightly different, with different matchups and different character playstyles coming into effect. As well, some characters are just squishier than others and necessitate that they play a bit farther back. Mina is a great example, who can play the high ground, however is usually forced out quite easily due to her low health pool. 7 is a fantastic wave clearer and can usually dictate the way the wave is pushing. The same goes for Dynamo or even Kelvin with his Arctic Beam. Understanding your hero and how best to play them in lane is what turns a good player to a great player. This, in combination with taking into account your lane matchup, who you're going against in lane, are essential for getting your tower to stay as late as possible. So to reiterate, here are our 6 important tips. 1. Stick next to Healbot. He is the lifeline of your lane. 2. Shoot the creeps. Whoever's creeps die faster is usually whoever goes on the back foot first. Rule 3. Avoid trooper damage. Even when taking a fight that might result in the enemy losing more health, taking excess trooper damage can seriously start to snowball. Rule 4. Play cover. The map is designed specifically to allow you these different avenues of attack. Utilizing cover is just another one of those mechanics that you can use to get that lane tower down even faster. Rule number 5. Utilizing high ground. Again, take your long range character and place them as high as possible in lane. This provides tremendous poke damage and allows you a better view of the battle state. And finally, Rule 6. Play the Veil. Take whoever your chunkiest character or close range character is and throw them in that veil. The fog of war on your enemies will force them to split their attention and fall behind when it comes to things like confirming trooper kills or trading out damage. Winning lane phases isn't everything, however. Transitioning to the mid and endgame are both essential steps that evolve and change exactly what you should be looking at and where you should be. Once you hit that 9-minute mark, nothing is assured. Playing in your lane is no longer the most advantageous thing you can be doing at any moment, and grabbing things like buffs, boxes, urn, mid-boss, and so much more become essential. However, mid-game and endgame are a topic for another video. So take these 6 fundamental core principles, combine it with your knowledge of lane pressure, how the troopers exactly work, and you are sure to win that lane. Master the lane, and you master Deadlock. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, maybe an in-depth laning analysis, providing matchups, yada yada, or even a mid and end game run through, let me know down below.